The driving mission at Go Sports is to bring you the best paintball content and broadcast in the world, behind the scenes, in the pits, and on the field. To continue this mission, we're rolling out a renovated website platform across the board with easier search functions and a more robust chat system for better interaction with your fellow fans. Dive farther into the game with a new integrated stats portal. Get your insight into the game anytime, anywhere, with an improved functionality across all mobile devices. Check it out now on GoSports.com. Don't miss the most important battle of the year. The best paintball teams and players in the world will be fighting for the title at the NXL World Cup, going down in Orlando, Florida, November 7th through the 10th. Broadcast live only on GoSports.com.
Welcome to Go Sports Tactics. I'm Matty Marshall. I got Harris Hussein here. You're obviously one of our most colorful guests.
He's playing on. He's still playing on. And try to spread this field just a little bit, just to get myself in a better position. Luckily, I was able to dodge it because I got NFL combine athletic ability, you know what I mean? Now, Fred does a great job. Boom, blind shoots me. Fred thinks that there's no corner, so that's a lack of communication. And hi, Fred. Yep, that's you. Blair, you're out. Stipula got way too greedy. Why would you do that? You did the hardest part. You got into our side, bro. Stay where you are. Stupid, stupid mistake. Dave Haber's still looking for pack shots. Dave, it wasn't there 5 seconds ago. Why would it be there? Who's my next threat? You're in front of me. You are my next threat. Player, you're out. You look stupid. Why? Because you're looking cross for nothing. If you get anything out of this tactics show, it's wide zone control. You cannot let the guy fill out. You got to have outside contain at all times.
Welcome to Go Sports Live. I'm Matty Marshall. Got Ryan Greenspan sitting in the seat today. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone's staying safe, staying sane out there. We're touching base with Ryan. He just got back from the BKI Summer Camp. I think it's an amazing thing, an amazing experience. They've been doing it for years now, so I want to talk to him about that, talk about BKI, about the experience they just had. And they've been doing tons of things in different parts of the year. We're going to touch base on that. But Ryan, today I want to talk about some things that you and I haven't really talked about a little bit before. I kind of want to go down, the rabbit hole with your history a little bit. You and I, we have a very common history, and we've never really talked about that on the show before. And I just wanted to remind people like kind of how you got here, because I just was reflecting on that. Since you just had this experience, and we keep seeing these young these up and coming kids, which we've seen at the combines. We're starting to see that leak into the ultimate shootout. We have we had 4 different basic ultimate shootouts that were going on. And also, guys, keep in mind, we're doing Monday Night Paintball coming up next. It's going to be Ryan Hall taking on Meter Niños in the quarterfinals. It's the last quarterfinal battle for Ultimate Shootout number 2 before we head into the semifinals. So, and Ultimate Shootout 2 was pretty interesting. Obviously, I can't disclose. I can neither confirm nor deny anything that happened, but it was a fun one. And I think that how it kind of shook out is going to be very entertaining and fun for people, and I think it's good for just in general. But and then 3 and 4, we've also shot as well too, and those will be coming at you. Whole new cast for that one. But yeah, so want to get your thoughts on the Ultimate Shootout. It's been a summer of one-on-ones as we're stuck in the pandemic world. But without any further ado, obviously we're going to touch base on Dynasty, but because World Cup, it appears the NXL, we're going to have Tom Cole get on the show here shortly. I was hoping to get him on this week, but he's trying to get his web cam situation dialed in so we can actually do a show. So hopefully next week will be the time we can touch base with Tom. But, he was on Marcelo's podcast. They're trying to do World Cup. They're going to do the 10-man. You've played tons of 10-mans. You've won 10-man. So we got a decent amount to talk about, Ryan. But before we jump into it, how's the baby? How's the family? How's life down in PB? How you doing?
Well, my time is up. So thank you for having me on the show.
Bro, I gotta do an intro, dude.
That was an intro that was fantastic. Okay, so that was funny you said that about Tom, because I talk to Tom regularly, and he's old, so I can appreciate his inability to handle a camera, a webcast. That is funny that you said you had to get his webcam going. Like, I thought all computers are built in with this thing, but he's got to actually hook up.
Apparently not.
Some sort of tinfoil device. And anyhow, baby is great. Young Sloan, as a lot of people have seen. I thank everybody who does follow me on social media and across all the channels. I get a lot of messages from a lot of people that are really stoked to see Sloan running around and getting into trouble and smiling and jumping and doing all the stuff that she does. So it's actually great. And Matty, you are in for a treat coming up here soon.
Yes.
They, you know, the whole golf thing. And I know that you say that, don't worry about it. I'm going to be playing golf. Like nothing's gonna interrupt my golf, my five rounds of golf a week. Your daughter will.
Son.
But it's gonna be
son.
Great. No, son, sorry. Yeah, well, I don't know why I said that. I think I'm just in the habit of that because we all have daughters.
Everyone's got daughters.
Your son is going to have the pick of the litter, as they say.
Yeah, we got to work on the arranged marriage here, but the problem is he's going to be younger than all these girls, so he's going to have like all these babysitters. You know, oh, there she is right there. But he's going to have all these older chicks babysitting him. So yeah, we, you know, all the guys and girls we know are like, yeah, arranged marriage this, arranged marriage that. I'm like, I'm down for that. However, as we know how it kind of goes, typically, you know, that's not always. It can go both ways. But, you know, we need the next there needs to be some girls here in the next like 5 years. Then hopefully that'll be one of them for him. So you need to have another girl. That's what basically is what it is.
We've been talking about, speaking of social media, I know that a lot of people were really excited about Kyle's chicken stories back in the day when we had chickens. So I'm going to start raising some livestock now so I can prepare my dowry for your son in about 18 years. So we're going to have some really strong old cattle, some chickens, like a long history and lineage of healthy chickens and things like that. So I hope that like Davey or somebody else or Alex doesn't beat me out on what they're gonna offer you. But just know that I'll have some stuff.
I appreciate that. I've already discussed things with Alex and Davey. Right now, the bar, I think it's 3 water buffalo, some rice seeds, and they have a specialized brand. They've both been breeding their own wheat. So that's very intriguing for me. And then, you know, we think that rattlesnake skins are going to be big when the apocalypse hits, you know, for boots and stuff. Okay. So I'm thinking that like we might have our own rattlesnake farm. Easy. That might be part of the dowry.
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
Too easy. I'll start raising some rattlesnakes. Put them underneath the trampoline.
So speaking of rattlesnakes, let's throw it back real quick. And can you please tell me the Ryan Greenspan origin story with Yosh Rao throwing mud-dipped tennis balls and slingshots in your backyard story and how you got in this game? Because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, birthday party this, birthday party that. That wasn't my story. I didn't have a birthday party. And I know I don't think that's your story, but I wrote an article about this years ago, which had your origin story in it. And I remember there was something about, it was like it's just it was like you and Yosh, but you guys got the guns and you're giving your friends like slingshots, tennis balls dipped in mud.
We baptized.
Yeah. And yeah,
we baptized plenty of paintball players in just we didn't have the equipment. So basically Yosh's brother is the one who actually took us to play paintball the very first time. And you can hear the in-depth story on the it was might have been Nate. I think it's probably Nate that drove us. It was probably both of his brothers. I think we all 3 of us went. You can hear like that in-depth story about Paintball Hill and the very first time we played on actually your our At Home with Dynasty, also on Go Sports. And you get a little bit more in depth, but what it blossomed to was everybody on our block and where we grew up, it was everybody had like acres, one acre of land. So it's kind of the country, you know,
Sebastopol
and
NorCal.
Yeah. Sebastopol, Northern California. Yeah. So in my backyard, we had a bunch of this coyote brush, and it just so happened that like there was a little bit on each side, and everybody on my block, which was the 3 kids or 4 kids that lived on my entire 1 mile block, because that's how far it was from my house to like the next street was a mile. We all got pump guns, right? So we would look at this back then. You magazines. There was really the internet was kind of not really around. So you had to call and order these guns, and I think it was $120. And I bought this Diablo 2 pump. I upgraded for $20. Remember the JT Whippersnapper goggles, the ones that only covered right here? You probably wore one of those things because you pros were all badass and you like to get the bounces off the cheeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great formula.
Yes. But the Spectras. So in '95, 2005 is when the Spectres came out. So I did wear the Whippersnappers first. That was the first goggle I had. The Spectres came out, I think either the year after that. It was like right around that time. So we went in, and Spectres were a huge upgrade from
those were huge.
From
That's
the Whippersnapper.
Well, I had the Soft Stream, the JT Soft Stream, which was in between the two of those.
Davey had one of those. Those were they're garbage.
Yeah, it was garbage. Just more face protection. So so I had a pump gun, and then I upgraded to like a Diablo 2. But for a while, it was like only 4 or 5 of us had paintball guns, but everybody wanted to play paintball. And everybody who bought the original package that wasn't as smart and didn't have the inside foresight like I did and got the full face protection, everybody else bought the Whippersnappers and was like, I'm not wearing these things.
This is just right here.
It's just like this, and it's just scary. Right, imagine playing paintball only covering your mouth. Your whole jaw is completely exposed. So everybody immediately upgraded, which meant that we had a surplus of these extra goggles, which was perfect for bringing our friends to play paintball, except we didn't have enough guns. So we would give everybody either a tennis ball that had like mud on it or like a Ziploc bag with water and food coloring. So it's basically a paint grenade. And you would get, so if you had one of these random items, you also got a trash can lid as a shield, right? So there'd be like 2 or 3 people on one side. And back then we had to do chronos, and those of us who had upgraded to like the tracers, there's 2 types of tracers. These are all pump guns. And those guns, they didn't have a velocity thing. So you could only adjust the velocity. There was a light spring and a heavy spring. So you were either shooting 280 or 380. It was it.
I remember.
I think, you only get 2, it was 2 springs. So to adjust the velocity, you had to take it all apart and then put a different spring in. So we had a couple of pump guns. So if you got to the house early enough, or if you were kind of good at paintball, you got like one of the spare pumps. But other than that, you got a tennis ball and shields. And to be honest with you, and I hate to say this, for a while we were giving people scuba goggles. It's like you would just have the scuba goggles on. So
that's horrible.
So we're playing in
but better than nothing. Better than nothing.
Don't ever do that. Better than nothing, right? But we did test it. Like we shot them a bunch beforehand. But yeah, that's how we played paintball for the longest time in our backyards. And then the way it kind of like grew from there is my mom would always she worked next to the paintball field, paintball store, Pacific Paintball, and she would go every other day or every couple of days and fill up everybody's CO2 tanks from the neighborhood. And at one point she was filling up like 10 CO2 tanks. So she'd drive over there in the morning and then pick them up in the end of the day, and they hated her. They're like, oh, this lady again. Like, here she comes with 10 CO2. You can remember when you would fill up CO2. It's like,
your mom's great, dude. I love your. How can you?
I know.
Your mom's a sweetheart.
My mom is great. Thank you. I know, but imagine being like the guy at the paintball store who's like, oh, great. Here comes another customer's coming in. Oh, cool. It's $30.
That was me. Yeah, no, I remember that. No, that would definitely suck when somebody because I was the kid at the paintball field when I was 16, because I worked at the field and worked at the store at 16. That was one of my first jobs. And I hated the day on Mondays or Tuesdays when you had to refill all of the tanks from the paintball field, because I would have to sit there for hours, literally hours, and have 100 CO2 tanks. Yeah, and you'd sit there and you got, but you got it down to a science, and you had to be careful because it was like, you put too much liquid in, and so you had to, had to have that kind of
don't waste
rocking motion to it. But then you had to weigh them, and then you had the the 3.5, the 7s, the 10s, the 14s, and then the 20s, 12, and then that was kind of 12, 14, 12, 20,
people who are watching this probably have no clue what it's like to fill a CO2 tank or even use CO2 in general. It's a lost art. It's an art form, filling those things. I wonder if we still got it, if you give us a CO2 tank and a deal and try to fill it up. But that's kind of how we started, right? So we just kind of really got people from around the neighborhood. And then once my field, my paintball field, was too small for the amount of players that were coming out and playing, we went to Yoshi's house because Yoshi had a little bit more land, and we just built like a massive paintball field. And his brother played. He had a VM, and Yoshi had the sickest VM68 with like tiger stripe anodizing. Like it was VM68s were the jam, It was
like the AK-47 of the day.
It really is. That's exactly what it is. It's like the AK-47, and that's kind of where we were just so hooked on it. And then we got jobs at the paintball field or the store, got entry to the field. That's when we met Alex and Oliver, That's where we met Eric Crandall, who was like the manager and ended up owning Mare Island, which is actually awesome because just while I'm on all this, and I know we'll get to the summer camp shortly, but like one of the guys that came to the summer camp was like, hey, I used to play with you guys. I used to have my mom drive me to Mare Island Paintball to play with you guys back in 98, 99. And he was at the summer camp this year. He's a rad dude, this guy, Kevin. And he's
That's
like,
awesome.
I was actually talking to my mom and I go, hey, Mom, remember when you used to drive me to Mare Island Paintball? I'm actually going out there to like train with one of the guys who is now pro and does this. And he played the exact same time in the same places as I did. And he used to drop me off there. So it was a cool little nostalgic story.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, it just was interesting because you guys it was such a fundamental moment in the progression of paintball when that Iron Kids era of guys hit, because it was a wave of these younger players. So we had my generation, which was, Billy Wing, Eric Roberts, Davey Williamson, Mike McLaughlin, and then Oliver, and then you guys were right behind that, but only by a couple years. We're not that much older than you guys. But the combination of those two micro generations really was like a steroid shot for the game from the aggression standpoint. And I've always argued, I think, and I want your opinion on this. This is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, was that when you had because I want to get your view on it from that side of that, from the next, it was like the West Coast offense, 1.5, we were like 1.0, you guys were 1.5, even though we were, playing off of the guys that were coming up before us. But we were a little bit, you guys were, you're 36, right? 37,
well, in that picture
30,
right there.
God damn. Well, there you are.
I know. Right?
Yeah, you're super young. But my point is that, I truly feel that the way that the style, the aggressive style of paintball evolved was conducive based on the types of terrain that was played when it was still woods. Then when it went to airball, but you guys were that first generation, because we came up in that. I know, and you love the woods. You played in the woods. Mare Island. That's where you guys cut your teeth. There's a ton of different terrain that used to exist on Mare Island before it's no longer a paintball field. But when you looked at all the different fields that Ironman played, the fields that Shock played, and then what the All-Americans played, the three best teams that became, during the, not the golden age, but the old school era, then it went into when you guys came up. But I just want you to kind of think about coming up at Mare Island, the style of play that you were trying to emulate, and then being, the other younger guys the older guys that were us, and then making it your own, because that was, I think, such a crucial moment in the history of paintball. So can you talk on that for a little bit?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I remember vividly, playing against you guys and Micah always coming out, because Micah was local. You guys were all here in San Diego, or down here, down south. But
except when you shot Davey in the face.
I was going to tell that story. I may as well go with it. Let's tell the story.
It was a little preamble. It was just planting a seed. I'm sorry, continue.
Well, it's, so the big factor, right? Back then versus now is like home field advantage. Like if we go to any field, there's no home field advantage now, because it's an airball field. And so it's always different. It's just but home field advantage at your own woods ball field means that, the intricacies of that field. So, and this is also why, like, cutting your teeth, and this is one of the reasons I think that we did so well and we have been so successful in that transition, that 1.5 to 2.0 or whatever it might be, is, you guys were the young, fresh blood, you, Davey, Micah, playing with the Ironmen back when they were in their 30s, and these guys look like grizzly old men at that point. They definitely look much more rugged and old than we look now, from where I can remember. But what I'm getting at is, you guys started to bring like a little bit more speed and energy into it. And then you kind of then there we were. So you guys came out and you came to our field, and where we cut our teeth was a little bit of woods ball. But most importantly, what I attribute a lot of our success and our ability to really be able to play all over the place is as the anise. The fact that the anise, and for those people who just can't.
Well, describe what that is. Describe what anise is.
Right. So anise is like a licorice plant root, right? So despite that family of plant, what it is it's just really thick, tall, imagine almost like reeds. A cornfield, but thicker, right?
Yeah,
reeds.
Like reeds.
Yeah, and you could basically crawl through it. So it was its own speedball field, and it was always adjacent or alongside of every single one of their woods ball fields. So Maryland would have, you know, if field 1 would look like this, and there would be all these structures and like woods and sticks. And then right on the fringe on the outside was this really thick anise, where to play in there, you had to crawl most of the time. And when you see somebody, you got to shoot a lot of paint to like try to break the branches out. And at the bottom, it was a little thicker. And, you know, it's just like the thickest brush that you could think of, but it wasn't like big brushy stuff. It was just all tall, and it was rows. And so the ability to snap shoot and speed and fight out of that close quarters, which is also infamously where I, you know, 15, 16-year-old me, when you guys, the Ironmen come out, I'm like, oh my God, it's the Ironmen, you know, and we're like the hot shots at the paintball field on Out of Control. And there's Davey Williamson, and you guys are wearing just goggles. Some of you guys had the whippersnappers, and you guys were just these grown professional paintball men that we saw, and we're like, whoa, dude, these guys are just badass. But the real equalizer wasn't the paintball gun, it was the field, the home field advantage that we had. And so I remember asking, this is the best part of this whole story, and I'll never let Davey live it down, and obviously it's going to live on for the rest of our lives, clearly, was I look at Davey, and he's putting on his goggles, and I'm just like, my God, what an animal. This guy is just going to wear goggles. Like, imagine this for the viewers, only wearing goggles, right? So back then you could, unlike
in the anise too,
you could tear your bottom face protection off and just wear goggles and ear protection. And the thought process, the theory behind it is, well, if I get shot in the cheek, it might bounce off.
Yeah.
And then I'm still alive, and I'm tough. Well, so I look at Davey and I go, this is 16-year-old me going, wow, you're not wearing face protection? Nah, kid. Catch bounces like this, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay. And the very next game, we're practicing against you guys is Out of Control. And I remember just crawling through the anise, my home field. And I, you know, like when you're crawling, you know, like you hear the first person, you never shoot them. You go a little bit further till you get to the next person, so you can get a couple kills. And crawling, and here's Dave. I don't know who it was, but it was Davey. And I pop up, and I just whap in the back in the shoulder, like right here. And he goes,
you hit him right.
I thought it was his own team,
too.
And he goes like this.
Like,
no, it was
right,
when he goes,
like
I'm on your team, and that was when I set the third one, and it was like whap, I'm on your just right in the chin or the cheek, like just full on. I go, no way, dude. And then I kept going, and we like, you know, and the very next
you had the gnarliest blood welt, bro.
Like,
the blood welt was like, dude, it was like I'm trying to grab some. I mean, I wish I had a saucer plate. It was like this big, bro. Like it was like the blood welt was massive on the side of his face. But but that was also in the transition. That was in the transition when they were forcing us to wear goggles and we didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. So we were still wearing forcing us to wear face masks. We didn't want to do it. We thought that was weak. And so, but then we were still doing it at practice. We were still just wearing goggles at practice and just being, you know, young, tough assholes about it. And, I just remember, pretty much. Yeah. To be young and stupid again.
I think Davey hated me for about 12 years. I think it took him about 12 years to get over me.
He did harbor some animosity. Yeah. I mean, we used to have a game. I didn't play this game. I was actually, because I used to room with Davey. So the older guys would come in and get him all riled up. They'd be like, he'd have some drinks. And Davey's, you know, he's one of my best friends. We all love Davey. But when he was younger, you know, he's quite the scrapper, and used to be a little hot-headed. He's grown up quite a bit since then. But so they would get him riled up. You know, they'd come in and be like, dude, did you hear what Greenspan said? And he'd be like, what? I'm going to go get him right now. And then I'd be like, dude, chill out, bro. You don't need to go beat up Ryan. He'd be like, I'm going to go beat him. I'm going to go beat him up right now. Yeah, I'm going to go beat him up. I'm like, dude, no, it's chill. You don't need to beat him up. Anyway, so you're welcome.
Yeah. And thank you. I appreciate that. And I was in his wedding and
yeah. He loves you now. You guys are great frenemies. You ended up being teammates, very successful teammates for years. And then you were enemies on the field. Anyway, there's a time we could literally spend 4 hours just talking about you and Davey's frenemy status for sure. And Davey, you know, Davey's a legend. But it was just interesting. But so so that anise, those reeds, you know, they're very, you know, they're not very strong too. You can push through them. So when you can create your own lane as you're crawling, but what it does is it breeds the fear. It breeds the fear of playing aggressive out of you, because if you were scared of pushing forward and potentially suffering the consequences of, especially when we weren't wearing face masks, because that's how it was, And we had Annis at Borderland Paintball Park in San Diego too. So we were able to practice on that. And then LA was a little different. Their fields didn't have it. There were some Annis, but there was a few fields here, there, a little north of LA that had that. But their style was a little bit different. They had a little bit more of a traditional style there, which is why I think why GBD was so good, the good, the bad, and the deadly, at getting, winning every single game in the prelims, but then they couldn't find a way to put it together. But I remember traveling all over playing everything. But Borderland Paintball Park, where Davey and I came up, and some other younger guys came up, and then where you guys came up were Micah and Eric and all those dudes, Billy, all cut their teeth. You guys, Billy, there was such a diversion. There was such a diffusion of different types of terrain that when we went into the world where, okay, now we're playing Hyperball and Woods. Okay, now we're playing Hyperball and essentially Airball, and that's it. And now we're just playing Airball. You guys were able to make that transition, because I remember we were trying to get you guys onto the team. We had heard about you guys before. We're like, oh, there are these kids up in NorCal. They're really good. These are guys that we need to look at. This is, I'm talking like 99, so we'd only been on the Ironman for a couple years. Oliver got on the team in 2000, but we wanted to get you too. You were one of the guys. I remember playing a game with you when I was like, I had heard about you before, and they were like, oh, we need to look at this Ryan Greenspan camp. You had jumped in for some points. We weren't calling them points back then. It was just games, but we at SC Village. Yeah, and you were just and I was
SC Village. It was Matty. It was at like that field by Berheim's place, up in like Castaic or somewhere over there. It was it was with the creek bed, the riverbed. I remember this distinctly. Yeah.
Yes.
I jumped in with you guys because Oliver tried to submarine me and not give me a ride down to the practice.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
what happened there? See,
he's like,
okay.
No room.
Speaking of frenemies, the greatest, I think, and I will argue this till the earth explodes. When the sun explodes and the earth explodes with it, I will argue this. The greatest frenemies ever to exist in the history of paintball are Oliver Lang and Ryan Greenspan. You two going at each other and trying to just dagger poke each other in the side and frustrate the shit out of each other really allowed you guys to be the best players you could be. Because if it wasn't for that antagonism, I don't think either one of you would have been as good, especially back in the day when we had brought Oliver on and then you had a chip on your shoulder, then Oliver leaves. Like I feel, and because you're still going and Oliver is retired, I just feel like your legacy is so potent and you're, because you still have more to go because you're still in really good shape. But I just think that, and I this is why I kind of want to hear a little bit of the beginnings of that story, because I think that's such a profound paintball story. When we go back in time and can do a really cool documentary one day and discuss that, and honestly discuss like how hard that was to have these guys, because it also, Yosh is in there, obviously Alex is in there, that's the core, but you had Todd in the mix too. You had, Angel Pergozzi, you had Johnny Perchek, you had Brian Cole, you had all these different crazy dudes, these insane personalities, all pushing each other to other levels.
Right.
And then combine that with, that's the microcosm. Then you go macrocosm with all of our generation of guys that you guys were then wanted to supersede us, and you guys were right on our heels. Then you passed us, and then we battled for years, and so you brought the best out of us. So that, but it does get, there's levels to it, but it does in a lot of ways go back down to, I feel you and Oliver from a talent perspective and what you guys have done on the field in crazy moments are, to me, the two of the best examples we have of pure paintball ability. And so the fact that you guys did, try to stab each other a little bit, or talk shit, or just get each other under each other's, nails, and I just thought that brought the best out of you guys. I know it was hard to admit, but anyway, so you're saying Oliver screwed you over and didn't give you right.
And I understand that, and I think that the way you put it at the end there makes it seem a lot more cynical than it really was. But what it is it's just our drive to want to make sure that not just like our selfishness of like, I'm right or you're wrong. It's, I'm so right that I need to argue this point but what it does is it refines everything, right? So you bring the best out of every single decision because there is so much conflict there. Now, you ride a very fine line, because at any point in time when one person submits for any length of time, then one of the two of us would have just possibly steered the ship in the wrong direction. So it's really important that there's like, I don't want to call it the most healthy way that things have been laid out, but it was incredibly successful because of that back and forth. Now, backstabbing, it wasn't like, Hey man, it wasn't like one of the survival islands.
You're telling me what? Come on, Ryan. Really? We're gonna tell me it wasn't that little cynical? There wasn't a little Survivor Island-esque elements to it? Of course it was.
Well, it wasn't like going around
I was there. I watched
back there and be like, hey, Alex and Yosh, dude. The way I set up this game plan, you guys know. You guys are on my side, right?
My point is that you guys went at each other like rabid animals for a long period of time. Whether or not you're on the same team, and that brought the best out of you, and that was a real thing.
But that's what I'm saying is that challenge, and that banter back and banter, I guess, is arguments, and it's like a yin and yang. It's like an oil and whatever. Well, he calls it oil and water, which don't mix, but I think yin and yang is the best cliche way to put it. And actually, Rusty said it really well. Was like, he goes, Oliver's an artist and Ryan's an architect. You can't have one without the other, and one can't really live on its own in its own space without the other, right? You can build a structure, but it's not going to be a beautiful structure until an artist puts their finishing touches on it or leads you in the direction. You can't hang a beautiful piece of art up until you have a structure to hang it on. And so I think that Rusty kind of put it really, really well in that, and like, I think personally for any kind of development and moving forward, there has to be back and forth. You can't be submissive in anything, because otherwise it's just going to be one person's way and view, and without questioning, you're never going to refine anything. I know that I'm smoothing a lot of it out to make it.
I was like, you are buttering you're buttering the shit out of this one, dude, because I was there for it. Absolutely. I saw it. It was vicious for a while, but so successful because, and the reason why I bring this up, and I think it's important to talk about. First of all, it's a big part of paintball history. You and Oliver Lang are two of the best players that have ever played. Your team, Dynasty, the team that you guys helped guide to, again, I say help guide because there was a lot of fingers into that, bowl of ingredients, but you guys had a really big part of that. And I just feel that having been on a lot of paintball teams myself to constantly talking to people on paintball teams and hearing the struggles of paintball teams, I just feel that you talking through the success and also the failure and also the struggles of the personalities mixing, because you and Oliver are very similar in a lot of ways on the field and off the field, but you do have categorically different viewpoints of trying to push whatever your collective efforts forward. And it was in that realm because, it was difficult because you were vibing and having so much fun together and doing very similar things in life and, chasing that endless good night in all the best ways, to have such an amazing story and traveling the world. But that one-upmanship, I think, was a big part of it because it really did allow you to be like, to get the best. And I just out of each other. And I think that was so good for the sport of paintball and so good for the teammates around you, even though it was a difficult thing to deal with at the time. But I just feel that a lot of guys listening, I used to joke that I would I would have paid admission, would have paid like $10 just to listen to the bickering that would go on post points at your guys' practice. Cause we'd be practicing over here and sometimes we'd be playing you, sometimes not. But for years we'd all be collectively at the same fields. And then just to, you're staging here and we're staging here and then whatever. And then, but just to hear the bullshit that would be going back and forth, it was just so funny. I would just stop what I was doing sometimes and just watch and laugh my ass off. Cause I'm like, oh, this is hilarious, dude. Are you guys watching this right now? Like, this is Oliver and Ryan going at each other right now.
What exacerbated the whole thing is Alex. Alex was the cat. Like, Alex was like the match that through thing, because he would have his eyes closed,
just rolling in, just throwing gasoline on it.
Oliver,
just gasoline.
Oliver would be like, oh, the sky's black or the sky's red.
Yeah.
And Alex would be like, yeah, dude, Ryan, you're an idiot. Oliver is right. Absolutely. Have his blinders on. And I'm like, dude, why are you just jumping in? Like, why don't you just like reasonably just understand what we're arguing even about? And Alex was like, no, Ryan, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. So Alex was actually the one who really and then Oliver's like, yeah, I'm right. See? And then he'll look over and be like, see, Yosh doesn't have your back. But Yosh was like the silent voice of reason, right? Mm-hmm. Even if like I had to be 125% right in order for Yosh to back me up. Otherwise, if I was like 99%, Yosh would be like, like right there. And
I've seen Alex, that Yosh reaction before. I know what you're talking about.
Oliver could be 105% wrong, and Alex would be like, Ryan, you don't know what you're talking about. Oliver's right. So it was like we didn't have, the Sebastopol crew didn't roll the same way as the Mill Valley assholes rolled. You know what I mean? Like,
you guys are more utilitarian. You guys are definitely more utilitarian and Spartan than the Mill Valley crew.
Work harder for and now I'm able to better eloquate my answers and really put in a lot of like supporting evidence in order to like really get my numbers. And Yosh and Alex both hate it because I always use like percentages. I'm like, oh yeah, 80% of the time, 75% of the time, this and that. But I think that's because Yosh has ingrained that in my mind. Unless I say 110% of the time, Yosh is never going to be on my side. So I gotta. That's kind of like I have to make sure that he knows that I know that he knows.
It's just great because you guys are business partners now, so I can only imagine how those conversations go. But if you had to give advice, because again, this is something that every team has to deal with. You're going to have your bright and talented guys that are going to be battling each other. So from from a Yosh perspective, as the voice of reason, trying to get us all on the same page and work together and make sure voices are being heard, but that the correct argument is being tacked towards. But then also you being one of those guys having to deal with Oliver having to deal with you, and the maelstrom that was. I mean, now looking retrospectively back at it, if you had to go back and give Oliver and Ryan's at 20 to 23 some advice, because there's guys coming up the ranks and they're in the same boat that you guys are in. Maybe they're those guys. Maybe they're the guys on the side trying to make all this crazy magic happen. But what would you be saying to those guys now?
So one thing, and this is gonna upset a good amount of people out there that might be listening to this. I wouldn't give myself or Oliver any other advice, because the way that we worked together, or the way that we work together.
Oh, so is this a cop-out answer? Is this a cop-out answer right now?
No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm not. But the advice that I want to give to everybody that's listening, because a lot of things have changed, right? One thing that I see that is way more prominent is the reliance on coaching. Okay, and this is something that really bugs me. Back then, there were no coaches. It was just a team captain. And our team captain was Alex, and that just meant it
was a pirate ship.
And then flipped the coin to choose what side we had. But now you have coaches, and we implemented coaches throughout the years, like as we needed. But now it's like everybody has a coach, and their coach I'm going to go with off the top of my head statistic. 90% of the paintball teams out there is just a player that couldn't make it in the division above them, and is now the end all say all with the answers on a division 3 or 4 or 5 team. And the reliance there breeds what I think is like a not toxic, but not a very helpful environment to like really be constructive. So what I'm getting at is it's okay to ask.
I see why you're saying this, kid. Right? Yeah, I know.
And what because I from all the clinics and all the places that I teach, and I'm going to call these guys out here in a second, but like a lot of times there's just a player that just happens to be a little bit of a bigger fish in the small pond, and that's the one who's calling the shots. At a local field. So I'll get a lot of times like, hey, my coach told me to do this, or my coach told me that this is the way I should be starting off the box. And I go, I hate to contradict. Like I want to tread as softly as possible when I'm talking to these kids, because I don't want the kids to go back to their coach and be like, not believe in them, or just be like, hey, when I actually don't want them to believe in them, because obviously people need to have some sort of coaching that structures them and moves them. And oftentimes the coach is the one that's in charge. But to a lot of the coaches out there, like, unless you are 100% sure and you have won on the highest level, you have to understand that this is like a very constructive and flowing environment when you're coaching a team. Like your advice, unless it's coming from me or like a top ranked player in the league, or you've gotten that knowledge firsthand, you can't be at the forefront of that information. So I don't know. This is me kind of like pussyfooting around the whole answer of like, it's okay to question the coach. Now you got to do it as constructively as possible, without ruffling too many feathers. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I do agree. It is frustrating if you are let's just say you're the most talented guy on the team and you're 20 years old. Maybe you're going to play pro in a couple of years. Maybe you're going to be the next Ryan Greenspan or Oliver Lang. Who knows? And then now you got a guy who's 45 the best he ever did was get to D2 for a year and maybe took like a third place or a second or something. And now this guy's, your end all say all. Now that I will say that's frustrating. However, every single sport, because so few humans get to the actual top of whatever metaphor, the pyramid, the mountain, whatever you want to say, or to win championships. Like Tom
Brady's going to be a coach afterwards.
Exactly. And now it's a little bit different with paintball because, look, dude, we're not, you're not making millions and trillions of dollars. And now you get to go sit like Smog on a pile of gold in a cave and be super stoked with your horde, like you're still involved. And that's most sports, but that being said is that the best players in the world, like, I don't care whether it's the, a guy that's fighting in MMA, whether it's, baseball, golf, like whatever it is, but they're football. A lot of these guys, some of the best coaches in the world weren't necessarily championship players. They're just guys 100%. That maybe their physical ability, maybe they had the mind for it, because you need so much to be elite. You need to have the mind for it. You need to have the reaction time for it. You need to have the capability from a physical perspective to perform at the most elite level at whatever sport that may be.
And Matty, I recognize that, and I totally appreciate that. And that's why I'm saying, don't discount what your guy's saying because they have no accolades. What you need to do is you need to be asking the questions of why. And I'll like, just to elaborate slightly on that, it's not like what you're saying to me is not going to work because I'm obviously better than you could ever be. I'm going to play you in a one-on-one. That's not what I'm really saying. I'm just saying you have to question everything. So Matty, if you say, hey, you should have made this move here, or you could have made this move, and a great response is like, rather than being like, okay, next time I'll do that, it's like, okay, what did you see? Right. So let's just try to evolve everything. And I think that a lot of people are like, dang, we didn't win that turn. Like, we didn't lose the tournament because Rusty coached us poorly. We lost the tournament because we didn't shoot the bad guys. Right. Rusty can only do so much. Right. That's like, at the end of the day, it's like Rusty can drive us and he's a great example. Like, he was a great paintball player, but his mind in paintball is above, in the top couple percentile of like minds. And on top of that, he understands how to like,
and he was elite, really, and he did play at the top level. But that's different because it's different because Rusty was elite, so it's like your coach,
right?
That doesn't count because he is a guy that's been there and done that before. So, and Dynasty, it's funny too, because, and I got to give kudos to Rusty, Dynasty, when Rusty came in, was like the uncoachable team. And he came in and he's been coaching you guys for what, 6 years now? I mean, it's been a long time with the uncoachable team, which I think, just adds credence to how well he's able to deal with your personalities. It would be an interesting conversation to have with Rusty, which I should definitely have one day. I have had, over beers, but for everybody out there. And I totally get what you're saying. I just wanted to kind of circle this back a little bit because I do agree with you. I think that your point overall is that greatness is not had by discussing mediocrity. Greatness is achieved by having people that have the possible capabilities to reach that level, struggling against each other and against the outside world to refine their skills and get their mind sharpened up to a point where they can collectively push forward and get to that level. And that is not achieved by sitting there and discussing whether or not I should have shot down the wire or shot inside. Right. Yeah, that's the microcosm of that. But collectively having very charismatic and spirited conversations, aka arguments, over what your point of view is going to be to how this game should be played, and doing that on a regular basis and being willing to engage, whether you're doing it because you think, hey, I'm who I am, and like I'm gonna make sure my presence is heard here, not like necessarily like, oh, hey, excuse me, pardon me, but I was really thinking that I would like to contribute to this conversation. That's not normally how this goes, which is what you're saying before, because back in the day, you didn't have an overarching, like, sure, Rich Telfer was the coach, that was the captain of our team, because at the end of the day, he could beat anybody up, and we put him in charge because sometimes we would get in such vicious arguments about stuff that somebody needed to come in and be like, and this happened multiple times, Rich would literally be like, all right, you guys are going to shut up now. And if anyone talks, I'm going to punch you in the face. And that would just be, that's like an exact quote that, yeah, totally. But yeah, we should tell that story. But yeah, you saved him, dude. Good for you. Actually, poor Rich, he was in for it.
Everybody who's listening right now, can you guys pause and rewind in just the last minute and a half? Can you guys, someone dictate and type all that, transcribe everything that Matty just said and send that to me in an email? Because I feel like that's like that needs to be on this wall back here, what you just said. With the exception of, and plus me beating up Rich, you could probably put that in there for Sloan to grow. But like what you just said,
that'll be at the bottom.
Yeah, the bottom. Oh yeah, I was gonna beat that guy up one time. Honestly, what you just said, the way that you were able to put my rambling of 5 minutes into a very polished, digestible way to understand like how that dynamic should work, right? I think what you just said was like probably up there with one of the most profound things that like I think that people can, if you just rewind this and you listen to that, what you just said again, I think that was epic what you just said. The way you were just able to.
I just blacked really out. I'm not exactly sure what it was that
I know. You say a lot of really great stuff often, but that was good. So now you guys can push play. Please email me whatever Matty just said.
Well, I've seen it so much, man. I was there. I saw you do it. We've talked about this many times for you. We lived together for 6 years. So we've discussed this so much. That's when I was like, we touch base with you on a regular basis for a reason. You're all over the place. You're one of the best that's ever to do it. So I always want to kind of touch in base with you and see what's going on. I just thought, I was thinking before, I was like, well, I'm going to talk to Brian about this, and this. But I was like, man, we've never really talked about that specific thing. And I just feel that that's something that, if you're on a good team or you're a player that's striving for greatness, and it's not even in paintball. It could be anything, but whatever, if you're in that moment, having to deal with somebody else who's there with you, co-signing and co-writing with you, guns blazing to get to that promised land. Like if you guys are willing to engage with each other, mostly with as much respect as possible, but occasionally with disrespect if it's deserved, if they come at you with some bullshit, but being willing to meet each other in that mental field of battle before you get to the field of battle, I just think that's such a powerful goddamn thing to supercharge your abilities, because it's like, it's like when I look back now, I think and thank so much about and so much towards my enemies, because if you didn't have the people that you were struggling against, then that would not have brought the best out in you. But that also goes to your, quote unquote frenemies that exist on that same exact plane that you are both heading towards, crescendoing towards greatness. And I just thought to touch base and ask you about that with Oliver specifically, but that could have been any of those guys, because on any given day, on one given day, BC's the best guy on your team, and then Johnny would have a game. But that's why you guys were so great, is that everyone was contributing. All the best teams in the world, all are at that point, or, again, all the legendary teams, all the divisional teams I see coming. So this happens so much. I constantly see divisional teams because I'm in charge of, and just so everybody knows, at NXLs, if you are going for divisional move of the event, divisional MVP, I give that award because I watch all the games. So Camille and Jason hit me up. We have a conversation, Jason and I, about it. I will always ask everyone's opinion about it that watch the same things that I watch. We will, it's not just me dictating the decision, but I try to get that information as much as I can from everyone that collectively watched those moves, depending. And if it's on the fence, I will ask the captain of the team or a player that I know that was there to watch it, so we can make sure the right decision is made. But that being said, I constantly see when in the midst of a divisional game on the best divisional teams, multiple players, be the guy or be the girl, step up and have those moments. So I know that those people behind the scenes are also battling for predominance of mind share for the team's push forward. And I just think that, again, that I've never ever seen anyone do it better or worse, depending on how you want to look at it. Worse, I'm meaning like viciously go at each other than you and Oliver, and I just thought that it was this was.
Mind you, we've never fought each other. Like there's never been like punches.
That's true.
I feel like you're painting a very dark picture of.
Well, no. I understand. Well, I don't mean to paint a dark picture. This is all constructive arguments. This is all like. But arguments nonetheless, I don't, yes, Rich has threatened to beat me up. I mean, God, dude, I can't even count how many times, but we've never actually been in a fight. But that's how many times Rich and I have argued to the point where he's like, all right, I've had enough. I'm going to punch you in the face, and I love Rich. Let me ask you this. But like, I had to push Rich enough sometimes that was where we would get to occasionally.
Right. Let me ask you this, because someone just
I'm not trying to fight Rich.
I wasn't either, by the way. Just
not trying to fight Rich. Rich, I love you. I know you beat me up, baby. I'm not trying to fight you.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because someone just asked this on our At Home at Dynasty on one of the comment sections when I was interviewing Brandon Short. And he was like, hey, look, so Dynasty was incredibly successful, right? And basically the question is, what changed in the level of paintball, or the level of competition paintball between 2002 and 2010 and now? Like, why is it that it's so much more difficult to win a paintball tournament consistently? Like, so we won one year, I think it was 2004, 6, 5, something like that. Out of there was the NXL or the MPPL, the PSP, and Millennium, and we won 13 out of 15 tournaments. Now, granted, the NXL had its own franchise of teams in there, and there was no commingling. So some people, like Ryan Moorhead is a proponent of this. He's like, well, even you guys were winning all those things. Whoa. You never really played against us and whatnot. So, and I appreciate that. I understand that, but anyway, you get what I'm asking. So why is it more difficult now?
Well, I think that, so I've been watching all this paintball for a long time. I think I've seen every single point of professional paintball since at least 2009.
Right.
And played, and that's kind of when I retired, and then played and was writing about things since then. But I really feel that if you look back at the diffusion of aggressive mobility and how certain players and teams thrived in that specific strategic mindset. So when we came, I'm gonna try to keep this as succinct as possible, because I do want to touch base on you and I feel like we could talk about this specific thing, because I have very passionate opinions about this specific thing. But since you asked the question, I think that when you guys caught a certain zeitgeist, and it was special. Now, yes, you were able to pad your overall win statistics for a couple years, but I would defend, and I have defended you guys before, in this same discussion off air, over beers, or at the field with dudes, when we've discussed like what's the best team ever, and obviously, what are we talking about overall, historically, forever, for like the whole time of that career of that team, for a specific year, for a specific era, that's a different conversation. But how did it become so hard to win tournaments? Well, this is why Dynasty is such a legendary team, is because you guys were able to take what my generation, and I'm not just talking about me and the dudes on the Ironman, but that went to the younger guys on Ground Zero, the younger guys on Chicago Aftershock, the younger guys on the All-Americans, even on some other teams, other pro teams at the time. We all were trying to take aggression and what was possible on a woods ball field to another level. Then we were all, for fun, playing on what were called speedball fields. Then Hyperball came out. We already knew how to play that, because when the old men decided to go drive home to their kids, we would stay and play on the plywood bunkers, and we would go do that against each other. So when the speedball came out, we already knew those moves, and we could play a fast game, but you couldn't necessarily take that and mimic it and bring it to a big 10-man woods ball field in a 20-minute game. So then you had this across the nation, and it was basically just the United States at the time, and a couple players from other places, the Hamon brothers from France. But then, so everything got moved up a notch. Then we go into Hyperball, and then that's when we took over, and a couple other teams took over. Avalanche took over, and then it went to Airball. That's when you guys started to become grown men. So you went from being, gangly teenagers looking at our game and going like, I can do that, and I think I can do it better. And then you guys brought that same amazing gunfighting ability, a willingness to take risks and take ground, individual skills across the board with all 10 guys for the most part, depending on the year. And then when it went into, then you guys didn't have to play against anyone other than the Naughty Dogs and the Tauntauns for that one season. And you guys were going overseas and you were obliterating everyone. But this is why I defend you guys. When you guys did come back in and started playing against everyone, and it was excessive versus Dynasty for that 2 years, you guys had hit your peak. Everyone was on the team. You guys were flooding in these, like the Archie Montemayor's and the Bill. You guys were just bringing in like guys that are going to be legends in 3 or 4 years, into the Josh Davies, the Yakimex. Like, you got the dudes that were sitting the bench for Dynasty in the mid 2000s were future all-stars and Hall of Famers. George, it was insane.
Archie.
Yeah.
All those
exactly.
Golden Barrel.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
MVP.
what I'm saying, dude. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when Alex Frazier gets on the webcast and is like, we taught all these guys how to play paintball, like he's joking a bit, but not really. That's fucking true, man. Like what all those dudes coming up and either playing in your franchise or watching you guys beat the shit out of everybody. You guys took the bar to another level. We brought it to here. You guys brought it to here. And then with excessive, we try to catch your ass, you know, and like, but then again, that's what I'm saying. Thank your enemies. Because if you don't have good enemies, you don't know how good you can be.
You get complacent.
You know, especially, we're not playing for blood out here, man. You know, like this is paintball, dude. Like no one dies. So, you know, pick the best, biggest fight you can get into, because if you don't know what you're made of. And so, and so but why it became hard to win tournaments is that, you know, when you look, and again, this is a longer conversation, and I would have to do it its due justice. I would need to be bringing in other teams and other players in certain time periods, but for, you know, to be succinct and try to move us along here. You know, so you guys did elevate the bar. It was like anything else, you know, how far you kick a field goal, how far you hit a home run, how many home runs you hit, how high you can jump, how far all that stuff, whatever your sports metaphor is, Dynasty up that bar. And we all tried to catch your ass. And then everyone else, because at the same time now, before when I was trying to be good at paintball, and I was talking about this in the Play the Game podcast, dude, I had to traps my ass out in the rain to a field a quarter mile away from our staging area to see the Ironman play, you know, just to watch the best team in the world so I could get a glimpse through the woods from the sidelines, through trees and shit, at what a dude was doing. So I could look at that and go, okay, that's what I need to be doing to get on that team. There were very little videos. There were no clinics. It was the TV. You could barely see what the hell was going on. There was no way to mimic what was happening out there. There
were no clinics. So no one wanted to share their knowledge back then. Well, I mean, it's not that they didn't want to, that lack of wanting to, but like there was no such thing. Which is why, we started. Sorry to interrupt you, but like that, I wanted to like really emphasize that. Like that is a huge point.
Bob Long taught a couple clinics back in the mid '90s. It was very rare. It barely ever happened. To get the skills, you had to learn the hard way. You know, you couldn't go pay someone and have them download it into your brain. That's not how it worked back then. And God bless the fact that you guys have that now, but that is how it got harder. So now when the videos, when Dirter and Dan and everyone started, when all that stuff started to get out, then you could be anywhere. You know, you could literally be sitting in the comfort of your own living room instead of, you know, taking a quarter to half mile walk in the rain into the woods when you flew there to play the tournament to see the Ironman play. That's how I had to get the knowledge. You know, most guys didn't have to do that in the new era. They got to watch you guys do it and watch everyone do it. And then you can sit there and you can take it to the field, trial and error, you know, and then people, you know, so then again, that's where it went. Plus, you know, stands were then set up. You could watch it. This is why the powers that be made paintball into what it was. That was again, top-down decision made from the people that owned the leagues and the companies, because they wanted the money that they're spending on these dudes traveling around the world. They want that money to not go. They want to light that money on fire. So some kid has to fly to Dallas and walk a half mile into the woods to go see that shit. No, they want to be able to put in a parking lot, have a person come in and sit their ass in a stands and sip a beer and be able to watch that with their son and go, oh, there's Ryan Greenspan, best player, one of the best players in the world. And then you get to watch that. You watch the videos, you take it home, trial and error. So then that diffusion of knowledge went all the way to these very hungry people during the mid 2000s, heading into this part. And then because the money started to come in a little bit, so guys could just dedicate their time to just training, doing drills. So everything got a little bit better over that from 2003-04, go to 2000, take it 10 years out to 2012-ish. And that's when it started to become really hard to win tournaments. So the diffusion of knowledge over 10 years with the diffusion of technology and the ability to consume that form, you know, that as a commodity, the form as a commodity.
Right.
That's why it became harder to win tournaments.
Wow, that's
the shortened version.
No, I never. Yeah, that was the short version of it. I didn't.
We got to get to the summer camp. We got one-on-ones to talk about, baby. You and me could talk paintball. We can nerd out on some paintball shit. Yeah, it's live, dude. It's live.
All right, on. All right,
we're live. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
I'm just wondering if what's that?
I said thank you guys so much for joining us out there.
Yeah, I was wondering because I remember when I told people to rewind, I was like, there's a lot of information that people are catching that might be in real time. So maybe I guess from this point on, maybe grab a notepad so you could just kind of like put a timestamp on everything and be like, okay, I need to go back and listen to hour 1 in its entirety.
I'm here every week, guys. I'm here every week. Make sure you tip your waiters on the way out.
Well, yeah, I never thought of it that way. That the dissemination of knowledge is one of the reasons that competition got so tight. The ability to now see how those moves are able to like be recreated and emulated is so much easier now. Like I take that for granted, I guess. But yeah, you're right. Like, oh, the Ironmen are playing on field 6. Like I remember that too. Like, let's go watch those guys.
You had to do the same thing I had to do.
You would highlight the games and be like, we need to watch this game. And it's not as simple as just like walking up to the one field that you play and just kind of watching the team and then going on the webcast. It was literally like a hike to get back to that field to be like, okay, and then spreading your team out around this massive like quarter of an acre thing. Like, yeah, like, okay, I'm gonna go watch it from the other side, you know. And it's still the same way in the ICPL and the ICC and we just played a 10-man. It's important. Like you got to watch these games. Like, I don't know how this field plays, or if you don't get it now, you don't have the liberty of you don't get to practice the field by any means.
Well, so there's no secret moves anymore. Before we would come. When we were playing woods ball tournaments, you would hear it was like things were like legends. It would be like an echo of the instance that would come towards you through different stories. So I mean, we have some funny versions of that too, like when Mikey Bruno crawled out of bounds and shot all American through a swamp and then shot all Americans in the back.
Mikey is the man. Mikey is the man.
So when you had let's say you're playing field 4 and you had a game plan, we had a crazy aggressive game plan on field 4 woods ball field, and we're playing a good team there and we're playing deep in the prelims, and that's a game we need to win. So you would hear a rumor of what happened. You'd be like, oh, Aftershock kicked the shit out of Bad Company on that field. They played super aggressive on the low end tape, down by the ravine. And then you'd have to go and try to, and you'd be asking people like, hey, did you watch that game? Hey, what happened in this game? Because now it's like there's a lot of stake. You didn't get to see. He made it to that spot. Yeah, you didn't get to see 70 repetitions in 2 weekends on one layout and know literally like the back of your hand exactly what you're supposed to do when you get into a spot. Like you're reading ingredients off making cookies. Like we weren't making cookies back in the day. We're trying to paint pictures with kills, and that's what made it artistry, and that's what made guys legends, So you would see different crazy stuff that was pulled off by different guys. And maybe you'd be like, well, Richie Malchevsky did that, but can you do that, Matty? I'd be like, well, I'm gonna try, right. And then, so that's kind of that situation. But anyway, again, you and I could go down the rabbit hole, bro, forever on this. On your screen right now, you're seeing
hey, Matty, you want to talk up the ultimate shootout? I'm gonna pee my pants here in a second. I'm gonna.
Oh my God, he's gonna pee his pants. Well, hey, go pee. Yeah, go pee. Let me
talk about the ultimate shootout. And then I'll ask you some questions, but I got to do this.
All right. Yeah. All right. So while Ryan goes to use the facilities, we do have there it is on your screen. The battle's going down August the 3rd. And apparently they're going to start needing to send me these graphics here to spell check them. But anyway, but what was cool about the ultimate shootout that we just did was we put some Masters division over guys over 40. That was awesome. The under 19s, female division, amateur division. So we're trying to spread this out as much as possible. Guys, if you're out there and you want to battle, hit me up, hit one of the guys that's involved in the ultimate shootout up, and hopefully we can get you guys in there. And then you can see here, this is, again, 002. 3 and 4 are also already in the books. 2 was interesting. This was a pretty fun one. It was the similar dudes to 1. We shook them all up, they all played different guys. Then we added Mark Baginski into the mix, who he ran the smoke machine for 1. I had no idea who Mark Baginski was. Super cool guy, and came out and had a very, very interesting game against BJ and headed into the semifinals. He did get that victory against BJ. It was a little controversial. I'm trying to get BJ on the show. BJ, if you're listening, dude, can you please answer my text? Greg Pauly gave me your number, and I'd like to get you on the show, because you did get screwed a little bit in that call. Maybe, I don't know. It was kind of tough to call. But anyway, that was a fun battle to watch. And we had Nate Roberts take on Jesse Stevens. That was a pretty good beating against Nate Roberts for Jesse Stevens. So he goes into the semifinals to play against Mark Baginski, and that's a good game. I obviously can't tell who's going to win, but I do promise you that it's going to be a good game. Then on the flip side, you have the battle of the Johnsons, Mark Johnson versus Clint Johnson. There's a lot of history there. Well, there's pretty much history with Mark Johnson and everyone in Texas paintball. So I feel anytime I get to do a preamble about a battle that Mark Johnson's going to play against a Texan, there's some sort of backstory there. Same thing with Clint Johnson and Mark Johnson. No relation. They are not brothers or father and son, even though Mark Johnson's getting up there. But that was a fun one to watch too. So yeah, so we're getting into these battles here at 002 heading into the semifinals. We do still have I think it's Ryan Hall and Meter Ninos, which is actually the battle. That's August the 3rd, Monday Night Paintball. So that's basically what we're going to be continuing to do here as we move forward. Ryan, you back? Are your teeth not floating currently? Good to go? It's all good.
Yeah, no, that was sorry. I was dying here.
So while
I was gonna pee into
a cup
one
or
of
something?
Sloan's diapers. Yeah, I was gonna pull a cup, but I was gonna get a bunch of diapers and start like patting them underneath me.
I think you're gonna need like 3 or 4 of them, dude. I think they're for people not your size. But
people.
All right. I do want to touch base before we let you go. I got to touch base about the summer camp. What are your thoughts? Summer 101s, right? Obviously, we can't get these big tournaments together because of the damn pandemic screwing everything up. But we have been able to play some 1-on-1s. We got again 002 going down right now with the ultimate shootout. But what were your thoughts on this? I think this is a format you could thrive in. I know you've played Pro Tour, and we've seen that a little bit before. You didn't play in the last one that we filmed. But I just think with your skills and the one-on-one, just in general, whether it's Pro Tour, Ultimate Shootout, I think that's something that you could thrive in.
Yeah, I actually like the concept of you're rewarded for your aggression, right? And watching like Meter, for instance, Meter's skill set was like he was gonna wait and win the gunfights and go for the kill streaks, right? So his stats versus Matt Jackson's. Fuzzy had way more stats like on the buzzers, right? But Meter had way more just overall, like leading up to the last match. Meter had way more kills and kill streaks. So it's interesting that like I love the idea that you can get kind of sneaky until the smoke shoots off when you hit the buzzer. But like you can get kind of sneaky and make moves and score some points. And rather than just always it being just a one-on-one, just only shooting the guy in front of you or around you. So I like that. What I like about the Pro Tour also is that it's a very uniform field. So it kind of mimics more of any other professional sport where the playing field never changes. But that's also one of the great things about paintball is it's not always so the same,
static,
right? It's just there you're going to see something new and dynamic every time. So it's not like you get stuck with a boring field because you're going to change it. So each format has like a pretty cool concept and it's well done. I like the higher rates of fire. That's kind of fun, right? But the overall thing for me is paintball is not and never has been an individual sport. It's always a team sport. And that's what the beauty of paintball is the fact that like anybody can play and anybody can be a part of the game. So for me, one-on-ones is not my thing. I don't like them as much, and I don't. I want to play in a team aspect, but this is definitely incredibly engaging, and it's like gone. Like I think what everybody's done on both aspects, both ends is pretty cool. And I love, like I said, I love the buzzer thing, and I think that like it's like a way more fun take on paintball, being able to like achieve something other than just shooting the guy.
Well, I just think that I agree with you. Hey, dude, team paintball is super fun. But that one of the cool things about the game, though, is that you can do anything from one dude versus one dude or one person versus one person to 40 to 2,500 on 2,500, which is like world record type status games, and everything in between. I love the fact that the 10-man game has been reinvigorated and that there's a lot of love for that. And again, it just absolutely is a tragic thing that happened with the passing of Tim. We all should be at the Iron City Classic this weekend. We are going to be doing a memorial show for Tim. But I don't think that that's going to lose any steam. I mean, obviously losing Tim is fucking huge, but because he was like are leading light on that side of things. But there's just such a passion for that. But with the one-on-ones, because we have got such a good vibe going from this, like even when we go back to the 5-on-5s, it's just going to allow. It's just funny. Like I understand, and that's gracious of you to say that you do like the team element of the game, but you are also the guy that's put in terrible spots all the time to do the worst job on the field. And people have been,
right.
Like you've been an elite player for forever since you started playing when we were trying to get you on the Ironman back in 99, 2000, and you stuck with the boys. But that in the one-on-one situation, nobody can let you down. It's just you, So I think that with your skills, if I feel like maybe you would be a little bit more predisposed to be wanting to get after this if you were 22 all over again and trying to make a name for yourself, because it does give a person like yourself who is, on any given day, the best player in your team, put into a spot from the team situation where you can't just go play jazz with that point and just go down and, play whatever tune you want as you're running aggressively. And you're given the leniency to do what you want. It's like in the one-on-one situation now, it is just you. You are giving the leniency to do whatever the hell you want. Sure, you could have a coach in your corner, but no one can let you down. No one can help you. Like it is just you. So if you are elite, this is a place where you can shine. And I think that the young, hungry guys that are coming up the ranks, because I'm starting to get messages from some of these dudes. I don't know a lot of them, but they're divisional dudes. But take this out a year, 2 years. It's like we're going to find out who the best individually skilled player. Like, look at what Tyler's done. I mean, Tyler's always been a legend. Like, I mean, I played against Tyler since he was a kid. I mean, you and I sparred in text messages. You're like, he should be the D-side guy. And I'm like, bro, Tyler is everywhere, man. Like, I don't want to slight him like that. To me, he's at like the level where he needs to be put in with, the Malloys, the guys that can play any spot. Like, that's how good Tyler is. And then he comes out.
I promise you that.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but like, he's just, he's so elite at these different skills.
Yeah.
Whether it's posting and shooting, like look how he took down Keith Brown, whatever he's doing, he's elite at that. And so the one-on-one has allowed people to see, even though he's 6'3", he can hide in the back and outweight and out snapshot a snapshot master like Keith Brown and slowly suffocate him. Right. He can play aggressive too, out of a cake. Yeah. The smallest bunker on the field. So, but to see that's disgusting, amazing, highest level, the high level, strategy, and then employing your strategy and coming through and using your physical abilities to make that reality happen for yourself. But I'm just interested to see how this is going to start to play out here. I thought it was cool because Matt Jackson came into the first one as the favorite and he ended up winning that, and I had to tip my hat to them that he was willing to do that. And off camera, when we're not even on air, and I was like, "Hey, bro, it's awesome that you were able to come out to do this. I appreciate you willing to put your name up on this, because if you didn't win this one, people might be like, oh, well, Matt Jackson didn't win this one." He's like, "Dude, I don't look at it like that." He's like, "I love paintball. This is what we do, and when I get a chance to go do what I do, I'm gonna try to play the best I can. And if it didn't work out for me, then who gives a shit? Like whatever. But I'm gonna try to go and play my game." And which is what he probably would have said. I think he did say that on camera too. But he just didn't look at it that way. And but that was a really amazing look for Matt. I mean, he's been proven as now Golden Barrel winner, best player in AC Dallas, and then he goes out to the ultimate shootout, and that's a strong Texan field. Obviously we're doing it in cast, so it's like we cast a show, we bring people in, but it's all moving to the finale. But because of how well he had that mixture, it's like you said, Meter had that ability to go for kill streaks. He did really well. He also got some bad breaks in that final game too. There was a call that didn't go his way. That there was a makeup call a little bit later on that went back his way, but his gun turned off a couple times, just in the beginning. So he had a few instances where if the luck had been a little bit more on his side, but also the fact that Meter made it to the finals with Matt wasn't a huge shocker because of how good Meter is and how he's, slowly but surely played for almost almost all the best teams out there, except for a few. But it was just interesting. But my point is I'm really excited about the next generation that's coming up that's hungry to get after it, because we're going to get to see if they go through, you got to win 3 games in a row to win one of those battles. And it's just been kind of cool to see what's happened so far,
Yeah. I mean, what I took from that is it sounds like Meter needs to get himself a field one force. This guy doesn't turn off. That's pretty much all I took away from that last little bit of information. This gun probably wouldn't have turned off if it was one of ours. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, yeah. So Yeah, so obviously you guys got the new Field One Forces out, which I'm sure you guys had out so can we transition? Let's talk about the summer camp that just happened.
Yeah, the summer camp is like we talked about earlier about there were just no clinics or camps or any kind of training whatsoever really when we were younger, with the exception of Todd somehow getting Bob Long to coach him for a little bit. But this wasn't a thing until the 2000s, like the early to mid 2000s, when you guys and us and we started being booked out to start teaching people. And I don't know, when I was young, when I was 15, 12, 16, 14, whatever, 10, I went to summer camp. A lot of people go to summer camps, and it's something that I had always kind of had in the back of my mind. So a couple of years ago, Anthony Vitale from Boston Paintball, who's been in the sport since the 90s, since it began, and has done so much after having been working with him for the last 6 years or so. I see how passionate he is, but how much he does for the sport in general, just out there. He's always doing these combines. He's always making sure he's the exact example of the paintball field owner that supports tournament paintball to make sure that they can cultivate and people compete, and has a paintball field just to make sure that someone can be a tournament player, which is how most fields operate. If you are watching this, you most likely play some sort of competitive or tournament, or you play on a speedball, airball field. Well, that is afforded by the field owner being gracious enough to set that very expensive money trap up for you guys to play at. And what funds that is the walk-on side of paintball. So, and that's something that he does. And just being able to handle both sides of both aspects, both sides of the game in there. What Anthony does is a tremendous job. And with that said, so the summer camp was born a couple of years ago because why not? It's such a great idea to be able to play paintball for 4 days, all inclusive. We had 5 world champions: myself, Marcelo, Kyle, Nick Sloviak, and Nick Laval. And then every day there was a new guest professor. We had Brett Messer from Infamous. We were supposed to have someone, and they didn't show up because of just what was going on right now.
Because of the COVID.
And then we had Pat Crap Jr. We had Harrison Fry. It was a really cool get together event, and we did. It's all paintball. You live, eat, sleep, breathe paintball the whole time we're there. So the event went really well, and under the current circumstances and the conditions, we had 36 players. Anthony went above and beyond to make sure that everybody not only felt safe, but was safe and comfortable while we were there. Extended the bunks situation, like the way you're living was a lot bigger. So you're always more than 6 feet apart while you're in your sleeping quarters. He cleaned, sanitized, sprayed every single day while we were down at the field. Masks were required in any kind of public environment outside of your bunk area. And when you're eating, when you got water or when you came up to get food, small groups came up, everybody hand sanitized. There's hand sanitizer stations everywhere. So we really pulled out all the stops to make sure that everybody felt comfortable and was going to be as safe as possible. So, and not only that, it was epic. This was the best year, in my opinion, for every year we have a tournament at the end. So on the Sunday, we have everybody gets put on the teams. And this is the first year that I can honestly say that Marcelo deserves the coach of the event award because we did a draft and everybody chose their teams, and he actually coached his team very well and he picked his team very well. I think that we could have beat him. We should have beat him on my team, but that's a whole other story. But you basically put into fruition all of the knowledge and the information that you've learned over the course of the 3 days. And on day 4, you played this tournament. Another cool thing is we played a lot more. We jumped in points and games over the course of the 3 days to not just demonstrate, but to play against the guys, which is something that I always loved doing back in the day when we were teaching. But I just can't say enough good things about how tremendous this experience is for anybody, whether you're the 40-year-old guy who Kevin, who played paintball with us back in Mare Island in 1998, and you just want to get a little better. Or there's another guy, Justin out of Florida, who again played paintball way back in the day, and he's like, you know what, I haven't played paintball 10 years and I want to get back into it, I'm going to go to this camp and kind of like reignite the fire and learn some things. So that way, when I go to the field, he lives outside of Tampa, and he's like, when I go to the field, you're going to have way more confidence going up against the other players out there. Or you're a Team USA hopeful, or like Austin Beatty's a great example, plays on AC Diesel now. He's been in this combine and clinic program for a couple of years now. So this year, so this is his third year here, he was brought in as a guest professor. So he was like shadowing us and learning how to like basically give the knowledge that we've been giving to him and to everybody over these years. So he's just kind of like shadowing us to make sure that we can, because this is the whole idea. This is the reason that I have Dynasty. The Dynasty is such a passion of mine and is my life, is because we want to be able to pass the torch. We want to allow, just like you can appreciate this. You want to allow the people, the viewers, the listeners, the players out there, the opportunity to be able to travel around the world and play paintball and do what they love. And this is like another extension of that. We need to make sure that someone is Marcelo and Tyler and all the guys that we have on Dynasty, Arturo and Blake. When Alex, Yosh, and I, when we're 10 or 20 years, when we're done playing paintball, those guys can pick up the torch and make sure that Dynasty, the light of Dynasty is being carried on, and paintball in general. That's kind of, we owe it. If you play paintball and you've been able to play paintball for free and travel around the world, you owe it to everybody else out there to share that knowledge and wealth of knowledge that you have, to make sure that some 12-year-old or 15-year-old kid out there that doesn't compete but just wants to get a little bit better so he can be more confident and have more fun out of the paintball field, you owe it to them to share some of that knowledge, because just because.
No, I know, I think so too. I mean, there's a famous quote that goes, I might butcher this slightly, but it goes something like, humanity will prosper, or humanity prospers when old folks plant trees under whose shade they know they shall never sit. And that's true, so, and that's kind of like, I think that, that, and that's why the patrons, the guys that are willing to put money in, put their, to have skin in the game and start fields or companies, people that run teams, I feel like a lot of those people sometimes get bad raps, but without those people, you would not have a place to play this game. And if you don't like how they're doing it, then start your own goddamn team or field or company. That would be my, like you guys did that, like, it's like, we're not going to do this. No, it's not a spite, but it was out of love, but it's spite and love are two sides of the same coin. It's two sides of the same coin, whether you're doing something because you think, yeah, exactly. But whether you're doing something because you think somebody is doing it wrong and you want to do it better, or you see somebody doing something really well and you want to do it better, you're still doing it because you think you can do it better, or do it just as good, or you can do it as well. So, but the operative word there is do,
rather than just complaining about the problem.
But that's what I'm saying. The operative word there is do something, do it different, do it better, do it, whatever it may be, but do it. Like just standing on the sidelines and talking shit that doesn't accomplish anything. I take all criticism, because, criticism is important too. It sharpens your sword. But I just think that with the because there's nothing really like this paintball camp. There's been a few here or there, and God bless all those paintball camps, but this one has been, I feel, the one that has been the one that's run properly, the one that I've never talked to anyone, because now you guys have been doing this for a few years, and so afterwards I'll be bullshitting with the dudes that I'll be like, hey, did you have a good time? They're like, oh my God, it was so much fun, enough that they keep coming back. So I just think that the fact that, and then the fact you guys have been doing the combine now, multiple combines a year, the summer camp, obviously you guys got the BKI program. And I say this every time, like, I'm not paid by BKI. I just like what they're doing. And I think it's huge. I wish I had that. The fact that I had to hike into the wilderness to see the goddamn Ironman play back in the day, to figure out what was happening, to try to emulate that. You don't have to do that anymore, man. You get a pipeline,
right?
It's like you used to have to go to the spring or like build a well, you get the water. Now you just turn your faucet on. But you got to pay money every month to get that faucet, to have that faucet in your house. So but it's better than hiking into the wilderness to get your fresh water. So same thing exists for paintball right now.
That's right. And just to solidify that, I literally got a message today at noon. One of the campers was like, I need to sign up for BKI after being at this camp. Like, I need to make sure I'm on the program. And he sent me this message. He says, I've been chewing through the content on BKI. I'm just reading it off right now. Wow, what a resource. I love your masterclass on form and body mechanics. Without having any prior training, I was setting up incorrectly in several areas. I have practice tomorrow. I'm going to go rewatch it again tonight and really focus on the basics tomorrow. There's so many things that people are doing that they may not know that they're doing it incorrectly, or there's a better way to do it, a more efficient way to execute the game plan, or your form and body mechanics is a perfect example. It's like I go through specifically, and every single night we would watch film and video of the day's games and the drills, and say, hey, look, this is what looked really good, and this can use some improvement. And I think that's a huge resource and a tool that a lot of people don't utilize. Is kind of like everybody likes to look at pictures of themselves. I actually learned that, like, I came up with this concept when I went surfing in the Mentawais, this small island chain up in Indonesia, 10,000 miles away from here and several days travel. And it was the best. It's like we're the home of the best surfing waves in the entire world. And the first day, we were pulling up in the boat, and you drive by, like, you have to take a boat to another boat after you fly in, and you're in this remote island, and we're now at the hour 18 of the boat ride, and we're coming by, and you're passing this lineup, and you're looking at, like, oh my God, I got to surf. I can't wait to get out there. And I go out, and of course I paid for the photo package, and I'm surfing, and I caught the best waves every day. I caught the best waves in my life. And I would come out, and they were like, you're smiling so much. Like, well, I've never seen waves like this. Well, so the first day, every day in between, when you get back at like 5 p.m. and when dinner's served at 8 or 7, there's like an appetizer hors d'oeuvres hour where you can drink some beers, hang out, eat a little bit. But what they do is they play on a loop the day's photos of every single surfer. And so I'm just like, I can't wait to see these pictures of myself, because I just caught today, in my mind, I am surfing like Kelly Slater. I think everybody can probably knows what that is. It's the only surfer that I could probably bring up that anybody knows. But it's the same thing. Like, I'm playing paintball like Ryan Greenspan and Marcelo Margado. I feel like when I dove into the Doritos, I felt like I was Tyler Harmon right there for a moment. And then I look at the pictures, and it looks like I was taking a shit in the woods. And my form looked like it was awful. Like, I looked at myself, and I'm like, that was the best wave I've ever surfed in my life. And the wave is just epic. It's the perfect picture, except the one thing that ruins the photo is me sitting on this picturesque wave in the wrong spot, doing the wrong thing. And all day I've been just waiting to see my photos. And I look at it and I go, wow. So the next day I change a little bit in my stance, and I look at the pictures. I'm like, okay, well, I was expecting that. But then the next day, by the end of the trip, my form and everything was so on point. And it was so funny because I showed a video to Camille, my fiance, and she was just looking at it. She goes, who was that surfing? Was that you? And I go, yeah, that was me. Like, thanks, babe. But
Camille, that's messed up, dude. I can't believe you do that.
That was me. And she goes, no way. Like that, because I had transformed into something that without this photos and me actually dissecting everything. So long story short, I came up with this idea of photo, like just kind of like going over the form and the body mechanics of everybody, of every player. And I took pictures of every player in the league, or not every player, but a lot of the players. Like, I take Justin Rabikoff and I say, look how he's standing, and look at this. And then look at the same photo of a divisional player playing in the exact same position, right? Do you see the differences? And that's one of the things that we point out. So like the nuances that we go into on the BKI platform and also just at the camp, looking at players, like that's the kind of attention that we're giving, and the passion that we have and I think it's like a profound amount of information that you're going to get. And I don't know, that was a long roundabout story. I just kind of want to show everybody.
It's so crucial. And I'm glad you actually added that story in of you surfing, because I have seen you surf and you're pretty damn good. And surfing's difficult. But the thing is like, if you're doing something that requires a certain knowledge of your body and its form in a pressure situation. So if you're whatever that may be, and there's so many elements in this, because every sport has its own version of this. Now, with the gunfighting platform and the mechanism that you need to utilize, well, your body being the mechanism that's supposed to inhabit this certain form to get the best out of it. It's not necessarily rules, it's principles. Things that have worked in the past, they will work in the future. Does Ryan, do you have a different gunfighting platform and style than, say, J-Rab or Malloy or, a Tyler? Sure. It's like different batting stances in baseball, different golf swings, whatever it may be, certain different, everyone has a certain style when they surf. But that being said, there's certain elements and achievables that you have to meet and you have to be there. And if you don't know what those are, you're not playing the same game as everyone else, and I think that's the most important thing. So having that ability to have that hands-on, over time, that's why, like you said, with the coach issue we were discussing before, like, sure, dude, it may be difficult. If you're 20 out there and you're listening to this and you're the best dude on your team and you're going to be the next Ryan Greenspan, hey, God bless you on your travels down the road of fate. However, listen to the dude that's helping you out, but take all of everything with a grain of salt, because you can't look at yourself unless you're literally having a drone following you around every single time you do something. We don't really have that capability. So, it might behoove you to seek out some advice to streamline your efforts and make the travel towards the destined land that you would like to get to a little bit easier, because there is a streamlined road there. So I think that's it's just a cool thing that you guys are doing,
Right. And I think, I forgot who I was talking to. I don't know if it was one of the students or I think it was a friend. I think it was Don. This guy who's come to a handful of these said something like, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to spend. So say a clinic might cost you $100 for a day. The BKI clinic's substantially more, but you're all inclusive, all your paint and everything's included. So say it costs you, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, should I go? Okay, this is great. Ronnie D's on, I think, and
the free parking clinic that's coming up,
right?
Yeah.
And you're looking at it and you go, okay, 5 days of paint. Well, $500. I don't know if I really want to spend $500. That's a little expensive for me. I'm gonna pass. Or I don't want to spend $20 for a BKI membership, or $200 or $180 for the year. That's too expensive. I'm just going to go ahead. So at that point, when you decide not to spend a little extra or a lot extra on getting yourself better, you then decide, I'm going to figure it out myself. At which point you need to realize, okay, so I'm going to go to the paintball field and it's going to take me who knows how long to figure out the wealth of knowledge that Ronnie D's on, or or Ryan, or
it
Matty,
may never happen.
Can teach me. That may never happen. And you're going to go to the paintball field how many times and spend that much on entrance fee and paint, whereas you could fast track everything by just biting the bullet. It's for some people, and this is what it is. I'm selling this to the people who are like, oh, I don't know if I should spend the extra.
Really, dude, I get it, but sell it, because this is a no-brainer. I wish I'd say this every time we talk about it, say the same thing, because it's so true. I wish this was around when I was a kid. We had, do you want to get it the hard way? You may never get it, dude. It's just, it's every single, and a lot of that is, don't care what you do. You want to do jujitsu? You go pay a black belt to teach you how to do jujitsu. You don't roll with dudes that have never done jujitsu and expect to learn how to expertly do your submissions. That's not how it works, and again, just go down the road of sports. Like, if you've ever done boxing, dude, God forbid you pick somebody that doesn't know how to throw a punch to teach you how to throw punches, get your ass knocked out. Like, you want to get in there with somebody that's gonna tenderize you enough to make you understand, one, you're not made of glass, two, what a punch feels like, but three, what your punches should be like. We could just go down the road, whatever it may be. And this is where that's where I wanted to throw the caveat that don't be too much of a dick to the dudes that want to be around you to help you out by just the fact that they still want to be around paintball, but also seek out the masters, like whatever it may be that you're trying to do. I don't care, again, what it is. It's not just paintball. You want to be an amazing writer, go find yourself somebody that knows how to write, that's got paid to do it. You want whatever, surfing, whatever it is.
Right. That's why these masterclass programs that you probably are inundated with your YouTube channels and your Instagram feeds are so popular, because you could throw a bunch of salt on a steak and hopefully it tastes good at the end, or you can kind of like watch a video from somebody who knows what they're doing, or read a recipe and creates more of a masterpiece. Everything's going to taste that much better, or it's going to look that much better, or you're going to perform that much better if you have some insight in how to do it. Eventually someone might figure it out, but chances are you're not going to figure it out on your own. Because if you were, you would have already figured it out by now. So, and it's a humbling experience to be like, you know what? And I think that one of the biggest things, the pitfalls, and this is also a big pitfall in paintball, is just humans innately are just programmed not to want to ask for help. You want to try to do it yourself, and you want to try to go down the route on yourself, which is, I know, no one likes to ask for directions. We don't want to ask my phone for directions, but you have to, and that's a big thing in paintball. It's like your ability to say, hey, Matty, can you put this guy in for me so I can go? Like, nobody wants to do that. Like, I want to do it myself. I need to battle all of these guys in and do everything myself. So it's just, you just got to understand that it's way easier to solve the problem with more heads, more people putting their information into the pot.
So what's next for you? Because I got to let you go. But what's next here? I know, obviously, So we got, again, we have a ton more Ultimate Shootout coming at you guys this summer. We're going to continue to do those even when we get back to 5-on-5 paintball. It looks like we are going to have Tom Cole on to discuss what's happening in the future. I know he's been talking a little bit about it. Keeps evolving though, but it does look like World Cup's going to happen. Are you guys going to try to get to the 10-man in October? What's up for you? What's up for Dynasty next year? What are you guys looking at?
So, I mean, it's all dependent on what the league does. I've been talking to Alex and Yosh. If they have made it this far in this webcast or anything, can you guys please call me back and text me back? But I've been trying to talk with those guys about setting up a practice. Like, we need to get the team together. Honestly, like we need to knock the rust off. We need to find a home field also, whether we're going to go north to Dave's field or somewhere else. But what's up next for Dynasty is we need to get on the grind. We need to get off of our asses and start playing some paintball. And then also just trying to figure out what Tom's going to do. So when you talk to him, let me know when that meeting is.
Should be next week, as long as Amazon delivers his webcam, then it should be next week, hopefully here. So we will see. But yeah. So
I talked to him. He said that he's pretty confident about World Cup, but that's our next event. I don't know if we're going to do 10-man's Woods Ball event. We have all our tickets from ICC still booked, so maybe we could throw those towards another event. But yeah, that's what's up next for Dynasty. And right now, my schedule is pretty wide open. Just hanging out with the family, having fun.
Nice. All right. Well, dude, thank you so much for sitting in. I really appreciate your thoughts on everything. I do appreciate you having an honest discussion about the beginnings of and how difficult it was to steer the ship of Dynasty towards what you guys ended up achieving, which was greatness. I feel like we should probably go back and touch on that again, because we did kind of feel like try to blaze through that, but that is a very fascinating part of the history of this game. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in here. Go Sports live shows every week. We got Ryan Greenspan at home with San Diego Dynasty. We got Tactical Tuesdays. Also, we're going to be doing some Ultimate Shootout tactics that should be coming out here pretty soon. And then we got a pretty interesting list of guests coming up here. Some of the guys that have been, fighting in the Ultimate Shootouts. We're just there. She is. Look at how cute his daughter is. She's super cute.
This is the. You've been on this thing for way longer than 30 minutes.
Well, we are a little bit long-winded, which I'm sure she will be too once she gets of age and starts speaking the English. But yeah, she's adorable little peanut. Hi, Sloan. Hi, Sloan.
Say hi. Oh, she can't hear you because.
Hi, Sloan.
Hold on. Say hi.
Hi, Sloan. Hi.
Was there noise in there?
She's so cute. And so blonde.
All right.
She's got Camille's hair. Anyway, thank you.
We've been bleaching her hair ever since you said she was strawberry blonde. The one day.
Hey, dude, frosted tips, dude. Just like your dad, Sloan. Frosted tips from back in the day. And we need to get her puka shell necklace. It's going to be great. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Monday Night Paintball. We got the next battle coming at you. Ryan Hall, Meter Ninos, going down August 3rd. I'm going to try to convince Ryan to play one of these Ultimate Shootouts. But bye, Sloan. Bye, Ryan. And bye, everyone. Hope you guys have a great weekend. See you guys next week.
All right. See you, Matty. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Buzzer is going to be the bonus as these players switch sides, and looks like Meter going to be the first to go now. Back. Meter trying to move towards that bonus bunker buzzer, and Ryan Hall also makes a move. He's going towards the orange buzzer.
Looks like Dimitri's retreating back to that back center. He's really comfortable there.
Yeah, looks like he's just trying to contain the aggression here of Ryan Hall. Now Meter's going to come back over towards this bonus buzzer side of the field and then take a pretty big bite to get across. That's a pretty big gap here. Another big one to get from the Dorito. And he's going to coast in. He's going to hit the bonus buzzer.
It looks like Ryan's a little confused on being killed.
Yeah.
It looks like some confusion here.
Well,
we got ourselves a gunfight.
Well, Meter Nino is taking advantage of that little lull in the action and then getting the shot there and goggling up Ryan Hall.